Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground is brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
So I'm Anton or Tony Treuer, and I'm professor of Ojibwe at Bemidji State University. I've always been amazed that in the field of history, most of the books that are written about Native people are written without any communication with Native people. It would be like writing a book on German history and never going to Germany, never speaking German, and never talking to a German person. Of course, you would only have the perspectives of Frenchmen and Englishmen, but unfortunately, that is exactly what's happened with a lot of the work that's been done on Native American history. In researching and writing the Assassination of Hole in the day, I was really trying to research and write in a different way. So I exhausted the archives, but I also spoke to about 50 different Ojibwe elders and oral historians and wove those pieces together in hopes that it'll show historians a different way to conduct their craft. Although it's also a true 19th century murder mystery, it's a window into how the nature of Ojibwe leadership changed, how the land in the northern two-thirds of Minnesota went from native hands into non-native hands. And it's a story of an incredibly fascinating individual who was both a very powerful and effective leader for his people and a morally complicated guy, like many leaders in many cultures. In addition to finding oral history, I was communicating with a lot of his family. And the story names pretty much every single big family at White Earth in one way or another. And even Hole in the Day's direct descendants number in the many hundreds today. They often have a family reunion down in the Crow Wing State Park near Fort Ripley, and there's usually at least 100 people who attend. So they were all watching and kind of looking over my shoulder, and I was very aware of the fact that, you know, I had to be responsible and responsive to the Native community. Some stories are critical and fundamental to the shaping of a nation even, and are underrepresented in the historical narrative. And I have nothing against someone like Sitting Bull or Crazy Horse, who have dozens and dozens of books, and in addition to really great names, you know, did some pretty interesting and sometimes important things in history. But Hole in the Day did so many things that neither Crazy Horse nor Sitting Bull ever did. He changed U.S. government policy. He was a financial arbiter for his people, controlled the terms of land sales and loss, and the retention of political traditions and power, and had tremendous power. You could not possibly understand how Minnesota went from native to non-native hands without understanding Hole in the Day. So he's a figure of incredible importance, but until now there's never been a book on him. You know, having a work like this out is that now it's a big enough thing where any historian is going to have to look at it and address a lot of those issues. And so it does change the thinking of other people about who is important, what they did, and I'm hoping will change thinking about how the craft of history should be conducted. For Native people, most of our talented, capable leaders are working in tribal government or in tribal communities, and very few are doing much interaction with the rest of the world. In addition, we are having a lot of issues just because there's so many fewer Native people. So you don't have a lot of Native scholars or oral historians whose work and minds are available to the rest of the world. And we need more of that. There are many battles to fight. They're all important. And this is one that I see as really critical. And as we get more Native voices out there, it does change the way that people think. And that should be everything from a team like the Redskins and their Native mascots to understanding issues of politics, economics. A lot of people have very skewed notions that either Indians are all rich from casinos, or that Indians are all in dire, abject poverty on reservations, and it's neither and both, and it's complicated, and it's really hard for people to understand that. But life is complicated, and that's one of the things I was trying to show in the story. It's easy to write a villain's history, it's easy to write a hero's history, and it's hard to tell it how it really is. And it's both. And I think all human beings have both good and bad qualities and characteristics, and it's our human struggle to try to push the bad to the outsides and keep the good at the inside. But I think there's a lot for everybody to learn from the story of Hole in the Day.
If you enjoyed this segment of Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground, consider making a contribution at lptv.org. If you have segment ideas pertaining to North Central Minnesota, contact us at legacy@lptv.org. Common Ground is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund by the vote of the people on November 4th, 2008.